So basically, there were 10 northern tribes that was called Israel, and the 2 southern tribes were called Judea. So the 10 northern tribes were forced out by Assyria first, and they were dispersed all around. So that's why people call them the lost tribes. But anyway, they were dispersed all around, and they never actually came back to the land cohesively. And then Judea, years later, they were forced out of the land, and they were sent to Babylon. And while they were in Babylon, they learned a lot of the Babylonian traditions. Unfortunately, they were in a situation where they no longer had the temple, they no longer had sacrifices, they no longer had, all the things that you see in the Bible, the priesthood serving in the temple and things like that. So they no longer had all of that. So what ended up happening is that they ended up kind of creating a substitute way to serve God, I guess. And they ended up polluting the things that God told them to do. We can't underestimate the influence that Babylon had on the nation of Israel. In Babylon, they learned a lot of mystic things, they learned a lot of pagan things, and they incorporated all of those things into how they worship the Father. So eventually they were allowed to come back to the land, but instead of reestablishing what is written in the Torah, they kept the practices, the pagan practices that were established in Babylon. So let's move on to today. Today, the nation of Israel, again, I thought that, when I was taught to love them, they were God's chosen people. I just knew that they were serving God, and, they were serving God the right way based on having the favor of God and, being God's chosen people and all of those things. But really, they don't follow the Torah. So they were created as a non-religious state, and they are a non-religious people when it comes to the book, when it comes to the scripture. What they do have is the traditions that they took on when they came out of Babylon. That's why Yeshua, when he came, he was always at odds, or Jesus, as some of you call him, he was always at odds with the leaders, because they said a few things about the scriptures or the book, but their practices were mainly based on the traditions of men. Their practices were based on the things that they learned in Babylon, which is all of the mysticism, all of the pagan things that they learned how to do from the Babylonians. And those things still exist today. In fact, today, the nation of Israel, instead of following the Torah, they follow what is called the Talmud. Instead of them listening to what the Father says in the scripture, the things that the Father actually told prophets like Moses to say and tell the people on how to live, what they do is they look up to rabbis and scribes who talk about their interpretation of the Torah. So I want you to think about that. They have the Torah, but instead of putting emphasis on following, and the Torah is pretty much what the Father told them to do and how to live. So they have that, but they say, we don't want to follow that. Instead, we're going to follow what the rabbis tell us how we should live. And the things that the ancient rabbis tell them on how they should live are based on the paganism that they learned in Babylon.